Hello once again, and welcome to the 365 Retirement Podcast with John Connolly at Rubino and Liang Wealth Partners, the team at Rubino and Liang ready to help you with your retirement. And that's really why we have this podcast, is to sit down and talk about some of the issues that are probably got you a little bit confused or even worried when it comes to your retirement. John is here. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Randy. How are things with you?
Pretty good. Getting into the cool part of the year. I like this a lot better. Now, your kids still playing hockey, aren't they? So this is a busy time for you.
Yeah, hockey's year-round. My daughter's, playing field hockey, coming off a couple of surgeries, so she's doing well. So we're excited to kind of get back onto the athletic fields in the Connolly household. So
very good. This is a point in your life when you're just a taxi service. You're just moving your kids all over the place.
True,
it's so true. Well, we all reach that, and we all reach our retirement at some point, and we got a lot of questions about it. So there's a lot of talk about when we should retire. Do you retire at 62, 65? What's your age? Is your money ready? Are you ready? So there's a study here from Mass Mutual, and it says the average retirement age in our country is 62, which is kind of interesting, but it kind of goes along with Social Security. And a lot of people, though, they can't pull that off at age 62. They're not quite ready for it yet. So there's an article on Go Banking Rates that says if you do these four things, you may be able to retire at 62. So here's the four things. I want to get your thought on it. It says you need to have at least two streams of income. You live on the 4% rule with your investments. If you have enough to support you through 20 years of retirement or more, and if you don't have any debt. So check all those boxes, and you may be able to retire early. So when you look at that, what do you say, John? Is that a good, complete list, or are there some things missing, or how would you discuss that one?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a complete list, but I think it's a good guide or a good starting point, so to say, to start looking at retirement. So when we sit down with our clients or prospects who come in who are really starting to really look into, am I on the right path to retirement? So when we do a retirement plan, first thing we want to make sure is that we get a good understanding of where their income is going to come from, whether it be a pension that the husband or wife might have, Social Security, is it an annuity stream of income? So we want to make sure that we get a good, sound idea of where that income is going to come from. And also, what is it that we have to spend on a monthly basis? How hard does our money have to work? Withdrawals from our portfolio. If what we're withdrawing, is that going to be enough for our money to last 20, 30 years into retirement? Listen, the good news is people are living longer today. People are healthier today than they have been, but that is making their retirement money have to last that much longer. It's probably a good idea that you might be retired longer than you have worked.
Wow. So that's a big number. So we have to figure out how we make that 401k last. So we talk about income sources, and that's really what they're talking about here. They also talk about eliminating debt. Is that a big discussion? And you and I have talked about this before. This is a great reason to come in a little bit early. You come in at 62, 63, thinking you're going to retire at 65. There's a couple of years to work on that debt, and you can kind of do that together.
Yeah, we could look at that. Some people, when they come in, they're hard pressed on, hey, I'm not going to retire until my mortgage is paid off, right? Mm-hmm. Listen, if you have a mortgage that is a low interest rate, okay, and it's not really costing you too much money on a monthly basis, we'll run the numbers and saying, if we paid off, pull capital from your savings and investments to pay off that mortgage, what does that look like down the road from you with having less assets available or investable assets versus carrying that debt until further down the road? And we earmark it as part of your budgetary needs versus not having that asset at work for you.
I've heard us use the term in the past, there's good debt and there's bad debt. So, I mean, if you've got a 2% or a 3% mortgage, I wouldn't worry about that as much as I worry about that big credit card or paying off a car or having a second mortgage, those kind of things. There's kind of a priority when you get rid of debt, isn't there?
Exactly. So when you look at it, if you have a mortgage at 2 or 3% and then your investable assets is earning 15, 16%, may not make sense to pull money from those investable assets, pay off an interest rate of 2% when that money is more working for you in a much more favorable position than paying off that mortgage.
So anytime that there's a list that they post online, I'm looking at, is the list a good list or what's missing from the list? So as you look at this list, most of it has to do with income. One thing about debt. What is missing from this list that you would say, you know what, we got a couple of other boxes to check off?
Yeah, when we go through the process and we sit down with people and come up with a strategy or a game plan for their retirement, we want to make sure that we get a good idea of what your expenses are. We just kind of spend some time talking about mortgages and so forth. We may build in on their expenses $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year for their mortgage payment, but that mortgage might come off the books in 5 years. We want to make sure that we show in 5 years that their expenses are going to decrease as well, which means we don't have to withdraw as much from the portfolio. So we want to have a really good, solid idea of what your expenses are. We want to make sure that we take inflation into consideration of those expenses moving forward. And then taxes. What is your tax rate currently today? And that's going to determine how hard or how much we have to pull from the portfolio. And I always say with anyone who's getting close to retiring, one thing that we want them to kind of practice is kind of practice on your retirement budget. If all of a sudden you want to retire and you're spending $4,000 a month right now and you think you can do it at $3,000, well, practice. Do a dry run before you stop working to see if that budget that you kind of created for yourself is actually doable.
That idea of doing a retirement budget just makes my head spin because, I know what I spend right now, but when I've got an extra, 80 hours a week that I'm not at work and driving back and forth to work, what am I going to be doing? That's going to really change how I spend my money. You've said in the past, every day's Saturday, and look how much money we spend on Saturdays.
Yeah, I Monday through Thursday, I really don't spend any money. I'm at the office, I'm working. Friday night comes, me and the wife will go out for dinner. Saturday, putzing around the house. Now I'm like, hey, let's go get lunch. Let's go fix this or let's go purchase something. So I'll spend money on the weekend. And then, like you said, in your retirement years, every day is Saturday. We want you to enjoy retirement. We want you to have fun in retirement. Retirement isn't just to make ends meet, so to say. We want to make sure that we get a real vision of how you envision retirement. What is it that you want to do? And what is it that going to cost? Is it, hey, I want to join a country club, or I'm going to go down to Florida for 3 months out of the year, or I want to take the kids and the family on a big vacation. We want that built into the budget. We want to be honest and have a really solid grasp of what our expenses are and what our streams of income are and what we need from our portfolio to make those ends meet.
And what we're really describing here is the 365 retirement plan. And that is what you get at Rubino Liang Wealth Partners. And you can find us online at 365retirement.com. There's a button up in the upper right-hand corner. It says Talk to an Advisor. If you click on that, you can actually, a calendar will even open up. And the process begins, John, with a conversation just by phone and saying, hey, is this a good fit? What are your needs? What are you looking for? How can we help? Tell me a little bit how that conversation unfolds.
Yeah, usually what the process is, someone calls up and says, hey, I listened to you on the radio, saw you on TV, and they come in, we sit down, and we really want to get to know you and your unique circumstances, and then take a look at what you've been doing. How have you been saving? How are you invested? How are we envisioning retirement? And taking a look at everything and see if you are on the right path to retire when you want to retire. Let's say it's 5 years prior to your retirement date or what you hope to retire. That gives us enough time to make adjustments if we're not on the right path, right? We want to make sure that early detection is always best. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to make those adjustments that are going to have an impact on you and allow you to retire when you want to.
Well, one of the things that you probably have an idea of is how much you spend per month right now. How much will you spend per month in retirement? Let's find out what that number is going to be. And if you look at your savings, say, does this number kick that number off every single month? And if it doesn't, if there's a gap there, that's what John and the team at Rubino Liang Wealth Partners can help you out with. Give us a look on our website and click on that button. It's the 365retirement.com, 365retirement.com. Click on the button that says Talk to an Advisor, and that kind of gets us going. We thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will be here again next time on the 365 Retirement Podcast.